My dogs are having their dinner right now, so if you hear a bunch of chomping in the background, that's Lucy and Desi. I'm going to show you two ways in which you can install this through the hole. This is the big powered unit, the powered truck. There's two ways. First, you can pop the bolster out, which can be a little bit complicated, but you just take your screwdriver and go under the bolster and pry up. Simultaneously, as you're prying it up, you're pushing out on the bolster out from under the away from the gear tower, and so your bolster comes out like that. It's just got a little peg on the underside of it that indexes into a hole in the top of the powered truck. So once you do that, just put the wire in, put the gear tower through the hole. In your floor, and then just take that with the little two little half moon notches out of it toward the gearbox, and just shove it back in until it pops into that hole again. The other way, the one that I kind of prefer, is you don't have to remove this piece, which might save you damage. I just snap it back in there for the sake of this demonstration. This one doesn't even require tools. You just pop on the front and back of the truck, there's a little snap where you can pop the gear cover off, and the axles will drop right out of the truck. So once that's off of there, it can go in either direction, so don't worry if you forget which way it went. Alright, now I've got the bottom of the truck open. I'm just going to take the two axles out, and now we're left with just a gear unit. I'm going to go ahead and just fish that down through. You just kind of have to wiggle it down through one of the openings, and then line up your bolster. Take a couple of the little screws that they gave you. These holes should already be tapped. We tapped them earlier for a 256 screw, which these are. Alright, so I'm going to lay the bolster into the hole that is here for it. I very carefully designed this for you so that it's a very easy insertion that fits perfectly. Alright, so there's one screw. I didn't tighten it hard yet. Go and do the second screw. And then I'll go back and tighten the first one. Alright, so there we go. We got our gear tower is in the floor. The universal joints pointing toward the middle of the car body. Now I'm going to take my axles and put them back into the motor here, or into the motor truck. There are a pair of washers that are right up against the back of the wheel. They're kind of gray. You can just see them here. Those go outboard of the brass pickup plates. So as you're putting it in, make sure that those are out toward the back of the wheel. Alright, now I got one in. They just drop right in. Super easy. You might have to take your little X-Acto knife and guide those washers into the right spot. Otherwise, sometimes they'll fight you and they'll want to go cockeyed and jam up in there. Then we'll just take the cover. Be sure you're not pressing on the floor. You don't want to break the floor. And it'll just snap back on. Check to make sure that it has these wings that are on either side of the cover that hold the brass pickup plate in place. Make sure that those are there and that your cover is flat all the way across the truck. Alright, we're done with that. Alright, next step, I'm going to install the motor. There's a method to why I'm doing it in this order. You won't be able to get the screws into the motor with a trailing truck in. Alright, so I've clipped the little motor mounts onto the motor. The back one will not be on the motor when you get it. It's just a interference fit. It just presses straight onto the back of the motor. You can do it with your fingers. I'm going to pop in one end. Oops, I forgot to line up my universal joint. So I'm going to put the universal joint on, and my dog's going to bark at the other dog. He's a little brat. He's a puppy. And I'm going to pop. Desi, stop. Alright, so I just popped in the second motor mount into the indexing holes, and I'm going to now run the 2 screws into the mounts from the bottom. The holes line right up. I mean, I've designed this thing to make it so easy for you. Alright, so I'm going to put this one in. One of the screws is inside the electrical box on the bottom of the frame here. So it's a hollow box, so it's hidden. There. We now have a powered truck. Everything should work just fine. Looks like I got to pull my wire over to the other side of the drive shaft. That's easy enough. Alright, so there's that one. Now onto the trailing truck. Don't have to take this one apart at all. Just fish the wire up through the hole in the floor where the pickups travel. Take your shouldered screw, this brass shouldered screw, and put it through the truck and into the hole that we tapped earlier for the trailing truck. And run it down till it stops. It will stop at the shoulder when it reaches the bottom of the floor. There you have it. Now you just pop on your side frames. Look at the plow for the orientation. The plow should have the point toward the bottom. These prototype side frames of mine were, the pegs are a little short, and so I'm going to wind up gluing these on. The ones you get will be of the correct length. Alright, so there's your floor, fully assembled. Now we're going to go ahead and move on to the wiring, but I'm going to put a little drop of glue on these side frames right now because like I told you, this is a different design than what you're getting. These pegs are a little short where they mount up.